If we try to mount the battery in the front end, it's either going to get ridiculous or it's going to get very high inside the chassis. Getting kind of exciting. Things are starting to come together. Now, if you get in close, what happened?
That's what I did.
Cleans up pretty nice.
Hey everybody in the universe, welcome back to Burlesque Garage. This episode is part of a series where my dad and I take a 63 Corvair and turn it into a hot rod. In this episode we planned the battery's location, and Dad collected the best pieces from both instrument clusters and combined them into the 63. The other instrument cluster comes from a 64 Corvair that we bought a while back and eventually stripped. So with that all being said, I hope you guys enjoy.
We're gonna eventually build basically well, eventually this is going to get closed up and upholstered, as is that side and then probably this. But if we try to mount the battery in the front end, it's either going to get ridiculous or it's going to get very high inside the chassis, which I really don't want. I prefer it actually to be lower, but I don't know that we're going to have any room inside. There might be room between the bulkhead and the axle, someplace if we cut a hole and built a box. I haven't looked at that yet, really as an option. That kind of depends heavily on what we do with the gas tank and the exhaust. Because right now the gas tank is interfering with the exhaust if we try to run it up and over the axle and have it exit anywhere in the back of the car rather than the sides. So we're running into a space issue there. We may make modifications to the gas tank, which would allow us to utilize some of the, utilize space back here for the exhaust. If that happens, I think that's going to negate any space that we have between the bulkhead and the frame, the rear bulkhead in the car. So I'm thinking our best option might be to mount this back here. And if we do that, then we can mount a fusible link right here and then run power up to the front of the car to drive everything else, and we'll just leave the battery back here, which will give you a little bit better weight distribution in the car. We'll put more weight to the rear and then we're offsetting your weight. And let's face it, most cars are going down the road with one occupant, right?
They are?
More often than not, yeah. I don't drive anywhere if it's just me. I've only got a couple errands to run, or if I've got a whole pile of crap to do, then I'll hop in the car and go. But usually I'm combining my stuff with your mom's stuff, just because I don't like to drive, especially not here. So anyways, depending on what you want to do with this, this might not be a bad option. You're going to lose trunk space, which is already admittedly small, but it's not, negligible either. You can definitely get a week's worth of groceries in here.
I kind of remember you talking about where we'd have to put it eventually, and you kind of mentioned this as a place a long time ago. So I just kind of figured it would always be there. Okay.
Well, that was kind of in the back of my head. I was looking at that engine compartment and the radiator and the way we've got things mounted. The way I originally had planned it, it would have easily fit on either of those extensions, frame extensions.
Yeah.
But you put this rad mount in here, and that starts taking up a lot of space. Now we could, or no, we can't. Okay.
Is it too big?
Why did I think it was going to fit like that? We could elevate it and have it sitting, but then we've got it awfully high.
Would that be safe?
It's not unsafe, but the more weight that you have high up in the body, the more inertia you have, the more the car's going to want to roll versus turn in. I shouldn't say roll, because this thing, you're going to have to get silly with this thing to roll it now.
Yeah.
But the higher the weight is in the chassis, the more likely it will be to roll. That's just that much more inertia you got to fight when you're turning the car in, assuming you start getting into parking lot Grand Prix or something of the sort with this. Granted, we did not use the best base chassis in the world for parking lot Grand Prix.
Yeah.
You can make a G-body turn and twist. And I've got a lot of the right stuff in here to do that, except the bushings. We went with softer bushings because you said you wanted this thing to be a cruiser. That said, I'm still looking at this thing with half an eye towards something more in the future. I don't know how you're going to develop as a driver. or a hobbyist. If this is it, this is it. If, you know, this sparks something in you, you know, we could be unleashing a beast. And you might really get off on drag racing or slalom racing or any number of things that this car would actually lend itself pretty well to. It's definitely a better platform than I ever had as a kid. So I'm kind of looking at this from the angle of, if we decided to, you know, let's future-proof this. So yeah, I was looking at it from an angle of, we probably want to put that in the rear of the chassis and probably curbside.
Yeah.
From the get-go. Or back up against the firewall, but there's no room in the firewall, especially with what we came up with for our...
the windshield wipers or the motor?
No, our HVAC kind of took up this whole pocket here. We could have engineered this differently. There's really nothing over there. There's no appreciable amount of space that would have allowed for a battery over there, and we wouldn't want it on that side anyways, because your weight's over there, and particularly in those type of situations or applications, you're going to be in the car alone, so you want the weight of that battery to offset your weight to some degree or another. You want the car pretty much being 50-50 front to back and side to side, ideally. That's not going to happen with this car. You're going to be closer to 60-40 front to back, but we might be able to get it, you know, 56-44. Am I saying that right? Am I doing good math here?
The mics decided to get a little weird here, but I basically agreed with Dad to put the battery in the back. So you know that like clip from the intro, or the intro song that we have in a lot of our videos where it shows me with the wheel? I was just sitting in this position today, and I just thought that we'd come a really long way since then. It's just an observation that I had. The firewall's painted now, and the wheel's in, and the ceiling sound
Deadener's in, HVAC is in. None of this is permanent. We're still fitting everything together. But we're fabricating the last pieces before we start final assembling the car. Getting kind of exciting. Things are starting to come together.
You're right, I do like the color in here, or how much more vibrant it looks.
I hoped you would. It's one of my happiest memories of my youth, is that car, that interior. I don't know why. As this thing starts coming together more fully and completely, I think you'll really cotton up to it more. This is just going to be a fun place, a happy place to be. And the car should be a rip, so that'll help too. That Impala was good for its day, but she was kind of a turd. Or good for the day it was in. It could hold its own against most of what was on the road.
Oh wait, hold on. You were messing with the seat in here, and you had the stick.
Yeah.
That was just commenting on how like uncomfortable it would be to have it
Well, my preference.
sitting like this. So he suggested, well, I think he suggested this in the past, but shortening it down.
Setting it down.
Yeah, to this. I don't know if you guys can see it with the way the camera's angled.
You have to figure out where your hand falls naturally, and then we'll put the stick right there.
I don't know, because like my hand isn't in a resting position.
What height
I'm trying
feels
to-
comfortable to you? Just lay it on the floor, Dad. I'll just drag my knuckles on the road as I'm driving down.
Like right here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a stubby one. Okay.
I don't know, kind of in that ballpark.
I'm thinking probably something like that.
Whatever.
Where's your hand gonna be resting most likely?
There.
Your elbow at rest. If we have that ball about even with your elbow at rest, that should be a good height for you. Because then it's just a matter of off the hip to the wheel, or to the lever. too old for that. You're breaking! What the hell are you doing?
Dad was having a hard time taking the ignition switch out, so he moved on to the other switches and looked up how to do it later. When he did, he realized he didn't need to be removing any of those parts because all he was collecting was the speedometer and the fuel gauge. Hey Dad, should I paint the thing you set out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Double check it, make sure it's prepped, give it a quick wipe with some sort of a paint thinner. Make sure there's no grease on it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is one of the first things I've spray painted. I did this before the seat frames in the last episode. Yay.
Is it done?
Yeah, it doesn't look very good though.
Why not?
I just trying to spray and it didn't get in some parts and I oversprayed some and undersprayed.
Well, it looks like it's laying out pretty well, kiddo. It's really hard to stuff up a horizontal surface.
Yeah, but there's also crevices, I forgot. Stuff I had to do.
A few coats dusted in will do wonders and keep the coats fairly even. So if you're coming from back here a little bit and just kind of dust it in. That said, keep on it until the paint is wet. Don't just dust it dry and walk away.
What do you mean by dust? Isn't it wet when you put that stuff
Let me
in?
find something we can shoot here. Now I don't know this is going to work so well on this because this is kind of a, this doesn't have hardener in it or fast acting reducers. But if you're, see it's just kind of dusted in there?
Yeah.
Okay, if you let that set up, that's little bubbles all over your surface, right?
Yeah.
Now this isn't a good example because this is not a prep surface. This is very rough to begin with. But if you keep laying it in there, even from a distance, eventually you get pretty decent coverage and the paint starts laying out, blending out in a nice even fashion. Now if you get in close, what happened?
That's what I did.
You flooded it, right?
Yeah.
So come back a little bit and just keep working the area until you have a good wet surface, okay? Or a good wet edge. Really difficult to do with something like this, but if you have a gun with a fan, you know, 50% overlap will usually, depending on how fast you move, give you a nice surface, a nice wet on that second pass. Cover, medium coat probably. But if you're just hustling through it, you'll end up with a fairly dry finish and it won't look right. It'll be kind of crumbly looking. We're gonna need this yet. So yeah. Not too shabby.
I like it.
Cleans up pretty nice. Did I miss a detail here? Yep, just tore it apart. This is not working. We're gonna have to reassess this. See what we can come up with. I don't know that aluminum braze rod will work on pop metal. That might be our way forward. We'll have to look into it. I've got braze rod, but then we have to get such a tiny concentrated flame, you know, to get just enough heat in there to do what we're trying to do without warping, burning, melting, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to hurt this stuff. So close, but just not close enough.
Well, that's about it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, then please consider giving us a like on YouTube and subscribe if you guys want to see more content like this in the future. If you guys want to get in touch with us some more, we have a Facebook page you can check out, as well as our email linked down in the description. And other than that, I hope you all enjoy your week and your weekend, and I'll see you next episode. Bye! I thought that was a car that's gonna go away and explode now.
Did you set the parking brake?
No.